of Heartfelt Conversations with Wedera Kibinda. I am Wedera Kibinda, your favorite thought provoker and conversation starter. Oh my God, what a wonderful season it has been. I'm excited. We've had various conversations from parenting, grief, and loss. And today is another exciting episode. Trust me, we're talking about what to do before I say I do. And as usual, we have the experts in the room, but let's bank that a bit. I want to give a big shout out and a big God bless you to all our partners who have continuously and sacrificially given to ensure that content gets to you on time, it's clean and just right. Some of you have been doing this for the last 25 years. Imagine Family Media, Family TV is 25 years old. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you want to join this great network of people who give, who want to support this, you can text the word partner to 20316. And I promise we will get back to you and tell you how. Thank you for your feedback that has been coming on our WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. We don't take it for granted. Asanteni sana. So, back to the conversation on Heartfelt Conversations. What to do before you say, I do. I am joined in studio, like I said, the experts themselves. I am joined by Pastor Emmanuel Gashanja. Or if you know, I call him Pastor of my Instagram. Pastor Gashanja is an author. Trust me, I know. Yes, he's an author. He's married, but he'll be telling us more about himself. But karibu sana to Heartfelt Conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. And I'm also joined by Lisa Mary-Ann, a thought provoker as well, working with young people in this country, doing a wonderful job. But that's for me to know and for her to explain. So karibu sana to the show, Lisa Mary-Ann. Karibu to Heartfelt Conversations.
Thank you, Whiteness.
So how we do this is that we start with the word of God. And Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 to 10, it says, it is better to have a partner than go at it alone. Share the work, share the wealth. Apo sana sana. Share the wealth. And if one falls down, the other helps. But if there is no one to help, tough. Those are the words of the Message Bible. So I want us to unpack that, but I'll start with you, Pastor Emmanuel. What do we need to know about you, my audience? Please introduce yourself. And as you do that, tell me, before someone even considers a marriage, what kind of personal transformation should they undergo?
All right. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah.
First of all, well done and congratulations for 25 years, Family Media.
yes.
That's amazing.
Big deal.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I know.
We are 25 years old. So
yes.
awesome. I'm excited. So yeah, as you heard, my name is Emmanuel Gashanja and I am a pastor. I serve at Mavuno Church, but also the founder of I Vow, an organization that seeks to preserve the sanctity of marriage.
I love that.
So I'm passionate about marriage. I'm passionate about love. I'm passionate about relationships. So my official title is I'm a relationship champion.
I love it. Yes.
So that's what I am.
Okay.
All right. So the question was,
Before someone, and
Yes.
because now I'm taking it for the team, before I even consider marriage, what kind of personal transformation should I undergo?
all right. So that's a good question. And it's actually one of the questions we don't ask ourselves quite a bit. We often just think of who is it that I want to marry?
Yes.
And we have our list.
Yes. And what do they bring to the
And
table?
then what do they bring to the table?
Yeah.
But we never ask ourselves, what are we bringing to the table? What are we doing? And are we ready for this? Are we wired for this? Are we... So anytime you do premarital classes, they'll tell you that there are 4 steps or 4, levels that you'll get to in your marriage.
Yes.
All right. These are the seasons. There's the first one, which is the dream phase.
I love that one.
That one is amazing, yeah? It's
Oh
the
my
part for
God.
butterflies,
Yeah.
like, hey, babe, all there. Is that one? Then after the dream, you guys settle down. Then you check into the drama. This is it. This one none of us
No one
likes.
likes the drama.
And then after that,
Am I the drama?
after that is the discovery.
Yes.
And then the depth stage.
Wow.
Now this is where you guys have gelled, you've accepted, you've gotten into each other, you know. But there's one level that I have added, and one level I think which is the most critical of all of them. And this one comes before the dream, and I call it the development stage.
Wow.
Because psychologists will tell you you're a sum of the things that you have experienced in life, which is very true.
Yeah.
You know, all that you've experienced is what you're bringing to the table.
Wow.
You know, your gender, you know, your personality, you know, your background. It's
trauma.
all coming, your trauma, it's all coming to play out in the relationship. And so if you're not working on that aspect of it to ensure that you're the one to meet the one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you're not making sure that you're the one and you're working on you and you're ensuring that, you know, my spiritual aspect is taken care of, my mental aspect is taken care of, my physical, and then, you know, just my social aspect is taken care of, then you're failing yourself. And it's important for you to go through a process of, you know, learning your self-awareness, a process of, you know, just connecting with God and all those things, just so that you can know your identity, so that when you come into this place, you're not coming to bring problems. Because I believe, you know, when it comes to relationships, a fraction plus a fraction causes a greater fraction. It doesn't make a whole. No.
The
Oh, it
mathematics
cause
has changed.
the mathematics has changed.
Yes.
The math there doesn't math.
Doesn't math.
Yeah, so the fraction plus a fraction creates a greater fraction. So you want to come a whole. And in relationships, I believe 1 + 1 = 1. All right. So you both have to be whole so that you can have a whole. Yes.
Wow.
So there's a lot of work to be done.
Drops mic, checks the WhatsApp group. Yani, I love that. A whole and a whole. Okay. Lisa, please introduce yourself to us. Tell us, what do we need to know? And just building on what Pastor Gashanja has said, is it about finding the right person or becoming the right person? How would you break it down to someone searching?
Okay, thank you so much, Reuters, for having me. My good name is Lisa Marianne Mwangi, but I love to be called Mama Simba because I'm a proud mom.
Yes.
If I was to be paid to be a mom, please. That would be my favorite job on earth.
Yeah.
But professionally, I'm a counseling psychologist and therapist. But you won't find me in a room hypnotizing people. You'll find me at the community level because that's where my passion lies at. And recently, I've become a self-care advocate, teaching women and girls to be the best version of themselves using the resources and opportunities that they have. Yeah. So to the question, for me, I totally agree with what Pasi has said. First of all, you know, making yourself better, ensuring you're dealing with your demons. I think when I got married, the kind of counseling we went through did not dwell on us as an individual, but it mostly focused on, now you're getting married. As a woman, you need to serve your husband XYZ. And mark you, this was being done in church, you see? So I felt there was a gap in that shift, especially coming from the counseling perspective. But because I wanted to be a good wife, good
Proverbs
girl,
32, write your own story. Write your own story.
I did not question the kind of counseling we were getting. But for me, I came with a lot of trauma because my dad was a smoker. I hate smoking. Then I had trauma of, you know, time management in the relationship. What time are you coming home?
Wow.
So I found myself being a control freak and managing my spouse's time because of all that trauma, you see? And then I was like, I'm bringing ABC to the table. I have to be XYZ for you. So how come you're not going an extra mile, you know, the way I want you to go? So I think managing expectations that are heavily fueled by our traumas and some of our demons are some of the things that we need to look at and address before getting into a marriage.
Yeah. Yes.
Secondly, doing a background check. DCI, please. Please don't catch me.
We are not ready.
Yes.
But it's us against the world. We are in love. I trust you.
Ngoje mwanze kupigana na the world. Then you will know there is no trust. There's no us against the world.
Yeah.
And it now becomes me against my spouse, you know?
Wow.
And that is not how it should be. Or rather, when you get there, we need to have the best tools to be able to navigate such situations.
Yeah.
But back to my point, there's a reason why there's during our grandma's time, they would send people to go to their families and investigate.
Yes, you are son of whom? By
Yes,
whom? By whom?
yes.
So you're able to know, are you from the witch doctors? Are you from a priesthood?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do a thorough background check, nowadays it's difficult because of urbanization and whatnot.
Social media.
But I think when you're in that love bubble, also put in a bit of logic. Get to learn about this person's family. Go even deeper if you're a spiritual person and pray about identifying the generational curses that run in that family. Because if they have a history of drinking, neglect, abuse, those are most likely things that might affect your marriage willingly or unknowingly. Knowingly or unknowingly, sorry. At some point, you utaona koka window kanafunguka and you're like, So how have they been addressing some of these things? How is this person... how do they manage their money? Not just from them as an individual, but even their family history of money management. Because if they have a history of drinking and, neglect, then that means they're not good with their finances.
Yes.
Also, look, did their parents invest? Have their uncles invested? How do they? I know this sounds very materialistic, but it will affect the kind of money decisions that are in your family. Because if his uncles or his dad did not show him that this is how you need to invest for your family, plan for your children, plan for the next generation, wewe ukienda po useme tujenge babe, babe niko ina hii business idea, itakwanga inaingilia hapa inatokea hapa, because that is not something they were taught. So when it comes to the DCI and FBI agenda, it's very important, but do it also in a respectful way and with wisdom, so that your spouse does not feel as though you're attacking their background or attacking him, but actually identifying some of those gaps in his side and also your side, so that now you come together and co-create, this is the future I'd want us to have, while breaking the curses zenye mimi nimekuja nazo na wewe umekuja nazo. It ends with us. So as we are starting this family, we want our generation to have a different trajectory.
I love that. Yeah. And that's what Pasi is saying. One whole makes a big, better whole.
Yes.
And I love it that you've even touched on very heartfelt things, even from your own experience. Pastor Gashanja.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the non-negotiable conversations? Like I said, I'm picking it for the team. I should have before getting married. Which topics, if left undisclosed, not spoken about, will break our relationship?
All right. So I always say, knowledge is power.
Amen.
And it is critical for you to unearth as much as you can. Some people will neglect something very small. For example, I think she shared something very, very important, like on finances.
Yeah.
When it comes to finances, we'll always just ask, is he working or is she working?
Is he stable?
Are they stable?
Yeah.
But the thing that she said, their family.
Yes.
What is the history in their family? Because we tend to replicate what we saw growing up.
It's familiar.
All right. So again, it's important to unearth those things. So the conversations you're having is a full-on conversation on what finances. You're having full-on conversation about sex and sexual tendencies. And you want to know what has happened in your past. And it's also important for me to say what has happened in my past, because that can be something that is going to affect us in our relationship. For example, were you indulging in pornography And we always think sometimes that is harmless, but it has a huge impact
Creeping
in your relationship. It's good to know, does the person come from a broken home? Because that also will impact you. I often have lots of couples sit in the counseling room, and when I hear some things, and almost guaranteed, I ask one of them, so was your dad present? It is so evident. It is so evident, because then you find some men who just grew up with the mother are expecting the woman to do everything. And this woman is just like, no, one time I got you so that you do these things. So there's nothing you don't unearth. So literally every aspect of relationship, you have to have a conversation on it. You have to unearth it. And I think she said it very well. If you're not doing this DCI thing and learning and observing, then you're doing yourself a huge, defavor or whatever that word is.
Injustice.
Disservice.
Yes, and
you're
disservice,
doing, you're doing yourself a great disservice. That wiring from when you're younger plays a huge role in where you're at in your relationship. And you bring all these things. There's a topic we teach in a premarital called in-laws and outlaws. Now, in in-laws and outlaws, you begin to learn the rules that were run in a home. So you'll talk about different things. What was the rule about discipline? What was the rule about this and this? So you go through different things that you'd experience in a relationship. And you learn that, in your home, there were different kind of rules. Some were unsaid, some were very evident, and so when people talk about this, you see them getting eureka moments like, that explains why you did that, So then you talk about roles, and this is where you learn, different homes are run very differently. There are homes where you find we grew up seeing mom investing. So it is me who's going to invest. And this guy is saying, no, you're not going to invest. How a woman investing?
No.
Yeah. So it's important to unearth all these things. I don't think there's no non-negotiable. I think everything is critical because it plays a role. And you know what's interesting? The smallest thing can bring the whole thing down. Because all it takes a trigger that will remind you of 500 million other things. And the whole house comes crumbling down. So every time I'm asked that question, I can't tell you there's a non-negotiable.
The 5 that topmost, no, everything. You think about it,
but typically, just for the sake of people out there.
5 points. And number 5 will surprise you.
But always check for things like mental illness, check for things like violence, history of violence, history of abuse in terms of addictions, alcohol, drug, things like that. Those become very critical. Those are the ones people want to hear.
Money, things like those. Okay. I love that. I love that there is a reason why we should land on both your coaches, as a relationship champion or as a psychologist. There's a reason when we are dating, even before we conclude marriage, it's important to come and see your kind of profession, because then it's safe. And all guards are down. Everything is put to the table. Lisa, in a world where we are having a rise of divorce, left, right, center, whether they are men of God or men who believe in God, or just men, you know, and it's a rising, concern. And most young people now are marriage averse. What would you tell someone to do? Before they say I do, what should they consider in terms of a long-time commitment? Because we are like, if it happened to so-and-so, you can count like 5 people in your hand, and you're like, okay, I'm not doing this marriage thing. What do you tell someone who wants to commit?
Yeah. First and foremost, it's very sad, especially my generation. Like, I know so many people whose marriages are not working or who are currently separated, which is quite sad. And people keep saying the devil is attacking marriages. We are the ones who do not want to invest and be intentional in our marriages.
Can we just shut down the studio?
Tunawekelea shetani vitu nyingi.
Vitu zingine. Even if it's like me, am I the drama? Anyway, go on, Lisa. That's deep.
Yeah, and that has been a keen observation from my lens, because you will find people, first and foremost, in that, lovey-dovey era, they don't take time to learn each other's personalities, to learn each other's temperaments. You don't take time to observe, this is how this person behaves when they're with me, and this is how they behave when they're with their family, and this is how they behave when they're with a certain type of friends. This is how they behave when they're at work. Because people switch up, and it's not a bad thing. We all, at some level, have multiple personalities, and it's okay, unless now it becomes a whole
mental
thing.
Something. Yeah.
But it's important to observe all these things, because that's how you learn someone's values. We can be from the same church, but our values are so different.
Yeah.
How I would approach something is so different with how you would approach. Learning how this person behaves when they're angry. That is so key, because there are people who become mean when they're angry. And there are people like me who shut down when I'm angry, So learning different personalities, and I feel this is where many people clash, because then you're not able to relate with your partner when they're expressing a personality that you have either never seen or you don't agree to. You don't take time to learn each other. And also having boundaries. Just because we are married, imagine it doesn't mean you own me 100%. I need to have my own individuality to a certain extent. So also discussing what are your individual goals, and then what are our family or couple goals, because there's usually such a huge clash around that. Mimi, maybe I want to become a diplomat, become a globetrotter, change the world, change Kenya, change Afghanistan, you see. But my hubby expects me to be a stay-home wife.
Yes, and raise the children.
So you see, again, just looking at some of these goals, because I feel there's usually such a huge clash there. And then you find someone is now rebelling or doing things that they know will intentionally hurt you just to get your attention. Also, communication styles. How do you like to be communicated to? Mimi, as Lisa, I'm a baby girl.
You're a baby
I'm
girl
a certified one. Me, you shout at me.
You shut down.
Wait, Apana, do not shout at me, please. So maybe this other person likes to yell when they're angry. You see, so how do we get to have a balance in how we communicate? Then something else that people take for granted, love languages. I know we have the kawaida Google ones, which are so beautiful. Everyone has all the 5 love languages, but in different order of priority. So for me, for example, me love being gifted. Me, if you give me a gift, it can be as simple as a flower. And flowers are cheap. 150, you have a whole bouquet, It's always the thought that counts. So learn your partner's love language, because that will really teach you how to address your partner and how to interact with your partner. And the last one, so that I don't share all the points, friendship. People underestimate how important friendship is in a marriage. Because there are days I don't feel like loving you like this, but because I'm your friend, I'll be kind and gentle to you, So friendship strengthens also the element of care. Because nowadays, so many young people are like, me, I don't care, Why? Because they didn't nurture the friendship. They were quick to nurture the romance, of which at some point it becomes kawaida. There's no spark, So then what holds the marriage together if it's not friendship, So ensuring you cultivate that friendship so that even when you decide you're separating, you can still raise your children amicably.
Yeah.
You can still have Sunday outings with your kids, even when you're separated, in a respectful manner. The hubby can still pay for school fees if that's how you guys decided to split your roles, you know, without him feeling as though he's doing you a favor, you know. So friendship is very, very important. And because people don't nurture friendship, that's why we have so many nasty divorces, you know, because someone is so angry, someone is so bitter, again, based on the expectations that they had around marriage. Yeah.
I love that. I love that friendship depends. But yes, Pastor.
So sorry. Again, allow me to just take piggyback on her thing. So, you know how she was talking about learning things like temperaments. All right. So King Solomon says something which I think is one of the most powerful things. He talks a lot about wisdom. So in Ecclesiastes, in Proverbs, he'll mention a lot about wisdom. And in Proverbs 24:3-4, he says, by wisdom a house is built, through understanding it is established, and through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. And I think this is the key to a successful home. One, gaining these three things: knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. All right? Now, when she's talking about learning the different things, you know, like when you go to a counselor, what they'll do is they'll take you categorically through processes. Then you begin to learn different things. Like, I'll give you an example. Now, I didn't do premarital or marriage and reach until we were married 11 years.
Wow.
We had 3 children.
Hey.
3 children.
You were just groping in the
We were
dark.
just there. We were just there living.
You're doing what you all knew from yourself. Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you. There was character development.
I love it.
Both ways.
Wow.
And I'm telling you this as a pastor
Yeah.
who supposedly has figured it out.
Yeah.
But then I remember going into the class and they tell us to do this temperament test. I'm looking at it like, these guys, instead of bringing us deep spiritual things,
Yes, this is what
they're giving us temperament tests.
Yeah.
So we start filling in. No, I start reading first of all, and I'm looking at this one, and I'm like, that's Bib. That's yeah. And then I never forget how shocked I was that there was a name to the madness I see in my wife.
Yes.
So apparently, my wife was a personality called a choleric. So how she's a go-getter.
Yes.
You know, goal-oriented.
Yes, what Lisa was saying, fly the world.
Yes, we are running the world, ruling. You know, everything, impatient, argumentative. You know, all those things.
And you are what?
And then me, I'm a phlegmatic. We're cool, calm,
collected.
Jesus is on the throne.
Yeah, where are we running
Hey,
to?
all things work out for the good of them that love the Lord. Relax, mama. Shida iko wapi? So for 11 years,
Wow.
11 years, my perception of my wife was that she was just the most unsubmissive woman I've ever met. And my prayers on my knees in the evening,
Was.
daughter of Eve, father, daughter of Eve, father, daughter of Eve. You know, calm her down, until my eyes were open, and I was like, oh my God, I have had an asset in my midst all my life, yet I had the wrong perspective. I'll never forget when we were having this conversation. We were having it out in a restaurant. Do you know, I got out of my chair. I went, I got her, I picked her up, and I hugged her. And I was like, all this time, all you were was a choleric.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how powerful it
Let's
is.
pause there. Let's pause there. We go on a quick break. But I guess it's a time to say, if you're in a relationship, call your person, your somebody, tell them, I'm sorry. Aki, I am sorry. or really, if it's time to call it off, this is the time. This is the time. I'll also go on a short break, but when we come back, we pick it up on personalities and piggyback on that and just hear your story, because I know your wife. She's a big deal and she's awesome. So see you right after the break.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back to Heartfelt Conversations. I'm your favorite thought-provoker conversation starter. My name is Wedera Kibinda. Where were you before the break? Where were you? Like, seriously. Today we are talking about what to do before I say I do. I am joined by Pastor Emmanuel Gashanja of I Vow, a husband, a father, and he's a relationship champion. I love that. I'm also joined by Lisa Marianne, a counseling psychologist, a mom, and a certified baby girl. People listening on radio, yes, it is a thing. And we are talking about the things that you should do before you commit to someone. We've spoken about money, the conversations you need to have, the investigations, quote unquote, that you need to do. Digging deep to what that person is all about and what they bring to the table. Previously, I've joked and I say, don't ask what I bring to the table because, baby, I am the table.
Hey.
But today,
Yes, sorry.
today we are redefining that. And I want us to piggyback on something that Pastor Emmanuel was talking about, personalities.
Yeah.
And when you discover I am this and therefore I react this way. So, Pastor, you can maybe finish your thought on that before we talk about the crucial one, submission.
So I'll talk about it for the next 20 minutes so that we avoid submission, right?
We need to hear Lisa's thought on submission.
All right. So as I was saying earlier on, now I learned that she's a choleric and what a choleric is. And I look at all the benefits of the choleric.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, after that, one of the things we learned to do is leverage on each other's strength and cover each other's weakness.
I love that.
All right. So now personalities are very, very critical for you to learn. And this is just one of the things. Imagine this is week one that you're learning about your personality, then learning about your background, and why are you doing this? And then even asking the question, what did God make marriage for? A lot of us think we know, but a lot of us don't know. So when we get into that place and we learn, we are very shocked. First of all, marriage, this was hard for me. Marriage was not about me, but I made it about me.
Wow.
Like, she's not doing this, she's not doing this. Ai, mara tatu kwa siku, babe. Mara tatu kama dawa. You know, she's not doing these things for me. And I was very frustrated. I was very upset until I learned that marriage, actually, when you get into it, is the most selfless act. Wow. And it's hard to hear that because by nature we are wired to be self-centered and selfish because we are fulfilling the lust of this thing called flesh. So again, these are very difficult things to learn. So by the time you're talking about backgrounds, let me tell you, oh my goodness, it was just so much revelation.
Yeah.
We were understanding why, even our money personalities. Did you know there are money personalities?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
but
didn't
it's too
know.
late. I mean, we've actually
11 years into it is when I'm learning there's a money personality. And then when we're reading, we're like, hey, iniwewe. So, and then we're just like, oh, wow. Oh, let me tell you, ignorance is not bliss. People are perishing for lack of knowledge.
Ouch.
People are perishing. In fact, I'm here to tell you right now.
Yes.
Good people, if you're out there and you're having a struggle, a frustration, a conflict in your relationship, it's not because he or she is doing the wrong thing. It's because you all are very ignorant on how to respond.
Exit stage left. I love it. Thank you. Let's talk.
Now you guys can talk
Now
about
we can talk about submission.
Is it okay if I leave?
No. So the dates will move from what's your favorite color? Where do you like to go for holiday? To we have downloaded this thing from Google. Let's check our personalities. Or we have visited Pastor Gashanja or Lisa, and they've helped us go through the checklist and creating that safe space. We are redefining this thing, guys. We are redefining. Lisa.
Yes.
Submission has always looked as what? It oppresses the woman.
Yes.
That's how it has always come out. And fortunately or unfortunately, the Bible really does look patriarchal. And so throwing that in there, despite us being told submit one to another, it always feels like woman, submit. What are your thoughts and how does that look like? Do I even submit to a boyfriend or does submission come in when I'm married?
All right. So for me, especially being an activist,
Yes.
na kuna time niliambiwa, don't bring activism in marriage.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah.
this one time I'll bring it. Submission does not equate to oppression.
Come on now.
And the reason why I say this from both a religious and cultural context is that the word submission has been used to normalize abuse in marriage.
Oh, God forbid.
You know, so financial abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, you know, neglect, all types of abuses.
Sorted.
We combine them
In
up,
the pot,
and then we hide them under submission. And that is why, for me, I'm really passionate about redefining the word submission. So what does submission mean to a man and what does submission mean to a woman? Because how men are taught what submission is so different from how us women were taught. Us were taught, cook for your husband, you know, maybe in the bedroom do a bit of twerking, you know, wear some sexy lingerie. When you're out in public,
the trophy
don't be
wife.
louder than your hubby. No matter how brilliant your idea is,
Keep it.
Yes. I'm gonna tell your hubby hapo kando, then you're shy nayo. You know, even if you're the provider or rather you earn more in the family, make sure it's the husband who always looks a certain way. And I feel like for men, how they're taught submission is the wife again should be quiet. If he barks or groans or you know, everyone
Coughs.
should be at his feet.
Yes.
Very quick, ready to wash and lick his feet, you know? And unfortunately, that's not how human relationships work. Even with your own friends, there's no way you'd want that kind of an imbalance. So why do you want such an imbalance in your own household? And this is supposed to be your safe space. This is where you're supposed to nurture the next generation of brilliance. So then why create such an unsafe and unfriendly environment? So I think it's important that we redefine submission and also just looking at what the Bible says about submission. For me, I interpret it, and everyone has their own interpretation, but my personal interpretation is we submit one to another. Not just I'm the only one submitting. Because it gets to a point where we both have to make compromises. Where my ego should not be present, neither should your ego, and neither should the toxic masculinity that is in the society come to play when it comes to our house. I always say there are things we can bring to our home, but not everything. And that's when you need to filter. What works for you might not work for another couple. So if my grandma was okay with a slap here and there, that does not mean that I should be okay with it in the name of submission. I mean, in the name of being a good wife, you know? And earlier you had asked why are millennials and Gen Zs divorcing a lot? Because even them, they're coming with a mindset of, by the way, utanifanyia hivyo. By the way,
I reiterate.
you know,
Yeah.
by the Mimi, you're not going to mess me up just because we're in this institution of marriage. And it's so important when you're drawing your expectations of realistic ones, not those ones of tall, dark, and handsome, you know, six-figure account. No. Like just realistic ones on how engagement should look like. That you define how people perceive things. because that will really come to play on the issue of submission. I remember there's this one time I got this amazing gig, and for me, I had been a mom like for a whole year without working after I got my son. So now my first gig is out of town. My son, I think at the time he had just started, he was a bit older. He was, I think, 1 year. Then I'm like, finally, I'm getting my groove back. Because there's a way as women, you feel a bit lost when you're in that nurturing moment. Because you're just giving, and giving. Then I decided, you know what? Let me take this baby to my mom for this gig. Then I'll be back. And I communicated in advance. But niliambo siku submit.
And you thought you were doing it right.
Yes, and I thought I was. So you see, again, expectations. Maybe at the time my partner was not ready for me to go back to work, or maybe for them, they were taught that a woman should stay at home and me, I provide everything. But for me, I'm like, kwani nilienda kampuni kange tu kwa nyumba.
With your whole counseling
all these
psychology.
my amazing ideas. So whom am I sharing them with? So also just aligning, or rather breaking down submission from both religious, cultural perspective, but also personalities. Because I believe, especially in this modern world, you don't find men being sat down and being told this is what. It's what they hear from other men. It's what they observe from their relatives, their friends, and whatnot and whatnot. So submission, yes, is a good thing, actually. But when it's being done in a manner that does not oppress the other.
It's symbiotic.
Yes, it's symbiotic.
Yes, I used a big word, guys.
And you're going, and you're actually going to enjoy it. If it's being done in the right way. But if it's being done in a way that's oppressive, and then someone comes and tells you, the Bible, God hates divorce. But then, I literally had to go and research that book and that verse and the adjacent ones about God hating divorce. So that I really understand why are we being told to stay in situations that are not friendly or even are harmful for us in the name of submission? And the Bible clearly states that in the when there's cruelty, how it interprets cruelty is abuse, neglect, such kind of things. When there's that, and also infidelity. When there's that, then there's ground for divorce. Even according to the Bible. It's just that God does not want to encourage divorce. So let's see how we can work through some of our issues, as opposed to divorce always being the first option. Sai ukichela nakwambia, by the way, test me, I'm divorcing you.
Yes.
Or using the word, the D word as a threat all the time in the relationship. So it should not be that way. But also, you should not break your leg, go insane. Recently, I saw a meme saying, marriages are squeezy. The way they say, I'll take you to Cloud 9. The Cloud 9 is a mental hospital.
God forbid.
Yes. Because of the kind of shege people are seeing nowadays in marriages. But it should not, honestly, be that way.
And that's why we are having this conversation. What do you do? What do you work on yourself before you bring it over to someone innocent sometimes into the relationship? Pastor Gashanja, I have a question for you based on Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Does that mean women are born wifed? Now,
the Bible does say he who finds a wife.
Yeah, he who finds a wife. So are we born ready? Are we born with the manual of wife? Because then definitely, if you have found the wife, you're obtaining favor.
I don't think, okay. So I think when God created you, Jeremiah clearly says, before I formed you in your mother's, before I formed, and I knit you, in your mother's womb, I knew, and I ordained you. And when he created you to be fruitful and to multiply. When he created you in the image of the first Eve, and that's to be the help and the support system. Now, here's what's interesting. Helper is only used for one other entity in the Bible, and that's the Holy Spirit. In fact, I think about 32 times. It's the word ezer. It's used for in reference to God, meaning the woman, in as much as we look at her as down, no, this is a very valuable person. And I'll tell you how I feel about it by going back to the conversation we just had. Again, knowledge is very critical. Knowledge is very critical. So in the garden, Adam and Eve partake of the fruit and they fall into sin. As they're being driven out the garden, God speaks things, curses upon them. This is the consequence of your sin. He tells Adam how he'll work hard. He tells the serpent how it will crawl.
Yeah.
And enmity between him and the woman and the woman's offspring. And then this is what he tells the woman. He tells you will have painful labor at childbirth.
Yeah.
But then you will have a desire for your husband, but he will rule
over you.
And we miss that because that's what has been happening
Yes.
for all those thousands of years of existence. All right? Now, until Paul now comes to talk about it in Ephesians and is now teaching us what was God's original intention. God's original intention was for us, one, to submit to one another.
Yes.
Meaning, like, I'm just using this as an example. Meaning, I give myself to my wife and she gives herself to me.
Yeah.
All right? Then after that, the Bible is very clear. It says that the husband is the head of the wife. All right? Meaning he has been given the position of leadership. All right? But leadership doesn't mean oppressing.
Come on.
It doesn't mean ruling. Leadership means that I am now responsible for nurturing, for caring, for loving, for empowering, for teaching, for training, so that these people who are under me, my wife and my children, can now be given every tool they need to be the people God has called them to
Wow.
be. Okay? And this is what God intended. This is what he says, rule over creation. Yeah, nurture. Be good stewards of this.
Take care of it.
Be fruitful. Make it fruitful. Okay?
Yeah.
So now, nowhere there does oppression come in. All right? And I feel like if any woman was to experience this from their husband, they would be willing to support.
Wow.
And really, for me, what submission is you come into this and say, hey, I have a stake in this home and I will do whatever it takes to help you make this home prosper. And that's what submission is. So that means I'll give you all my knowledge, whatever knowledge I have, I'll give you my perspectives, I'll give you my strengths, I'll give you my gifts, I'll give you my talents. Use it for the better good of the family. All right? And that's, to me, is what submission is. And for you as a woman, I think it's critical that this thing was put in you, but I think it's important for it to be nurtured
Yes.
in you so that you can be taught, so that they can come. Things don't just come.
They don't just happen.
You really have
If
to
they do their weeks.
nurture them.
Yeah.
So I think we look at this all wrong. And our job really is to serve each other for the glory or the good of the relationship, but for God's glory, but also so that we can play our part in making society a better place, because we have been given that mandate by God to rule over creation and to be his representatives here on earth.
I love it. And I'm sad that we have to come to a close. I wish this was longer. But Lisa, even as we come to an end of this conversation of things you need to do before you say I do, give a piece of advice on what is maybe one key mindset shift someone needs to action or believe in before they commit to another individual. What needs to change?
I think the act of service, because this is the one situation in life where you really need to serve one another without expecting so much, without expecting an award, the Nobel Peace Prize.
Being best wife.
Yes, or $1 million check.
Yeah.
Because you get fulfillment just from that act of service. So it's the one place where you get to serve each other and inform how the next generation will be. Because we wouldn't have so many horrible things happening in the world if we were really keen in ensuring that the institution of family and marriage is intact. So that's the biggest way to influence the world, through your family. And how you influence your family is serving one another. So before you say I do, be open to serving one another, both male and female. Be open to wholeheartedly serving one another. It's a business contract that never ends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What we give and take both,
Yes.
but with the trust that even as I give you, you will also serve me back. That's hard, eh? It feels like putting your neck on the table and giving somebody the rights to the knife, you know? Pastor Gashanja, even as we close, and I realize now we've come mellow and we're bringing it home and we are landing, couples on social media, you know, what impact does it have? And for the likes, for the clout, but behind it, you may attend, there are things happening. Hashtag marriage works. But is it working?
Yeah. I think it's important, first of all, for anyone who's interacting with social media to understand that we will never post the bad days. I remember there's one picture I posted one day, and it was liked. It's one of my most liked pictures, and it's not. I don't get many likes, but it is one of my most liked pictures.
Yeah.
And on that day, I'll never forget. I am part melancholic, so for me, there are days I get into a mood,
Deep thoughts.
and I was just like, I didn't feel like being part of that whole event. I just felt like, can I go back home? But when the camera came, I held her,
Smiled.
snap,
Left.
and then I exited stage. Now, when I post that, everybody's like, "Oh, cute these guys." So please, those are just moments and glimpses that are captured. It's important for you guys to know that, first of all, marriage is very difficult. Marriage takes a lot of work, and the people who are in marriage are so imperfect. So don't eat up everything, and don't desire to have that, because you do not know what you're desiring.
Yeah, we like
Behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I mean, all three of us here are married.
Yeah.
And we know there are moments that we love that human with everything in
every
us.
fiber.
But there are days.
Hey.
There are days.
Kila mtu arudi kwa mama.
Let's just say there are days. I even kurudi kwa mamake is very polite.
I'm the Christian only.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But so don't be lied to because of the small glimpses. I'm a testament. I've seen it for myself. I've taken. Yeah, there are many shots where there were days I know that I'd just been the bad boy. And my wife was just like, okay, just take it for us. Take a selfie. I know, and don't put this one on Instagram. Yeah.
I love
Can I just add something
Yes.
small?
Yes,
I
Lisa.
think another way of viewing it is still showing people that there is hope in having good and fruitful and happy marriages. Whether it's just that one moment of happiness, I feel like that will really influence. Because when I listen to my Gen Z cousins and sisters and nieces, most of them are usually like, Mimi Kolewa is a no.
Is a no.
But when you see this nice family picture of this beautiful family, no matter what it is that they're going through, they begin to reflect, okay, I think this is something I would want. Because everyone has a desire for marriage. I just think it's life experiences and bad stories that are making marriage look like it's such a horrible thing. And it wouldn't be as hard as we quote it if everyone was intentional. in serving each other. So I think it's also a way of let's call it transporting hope,
Yes.
through beautiful family pictures on social media.
Yeah.
But the validation that you're seeking outside, make sure you're validating each other
On the
inside.
yes. The cup has to be
the
clean
most critical.
inside and out. As we close, this is what romanticizing we used to say, you have the 7 principle. Quote me, please. 1 spouse, 2 children, 3 what? I forget what 3 is.
3 cars.
3 cars in a 4-bedroomed house with 5.
salary.
No, that's a 6-figure. 5 something, 6-figure salary. No, 5-bedroomed,
5-bedroom,
6-figure salary, and a 7-course buffet is what entitled a marriage. Until we got into it and realized marriage is really fast an inside job. A relationship is an inside job. So as we conclude, I feel like I'm sounding like a pastor. In conclusion, finally, as Lisa, where can people find you? We want to talk with you. We say we watched you on Family or we listened to you on Family. Where can we get you?
So you can find me on Instagram as Shori of Kiambu.
Really?
Because I'm proudly an Ushago babe.
Yes.
But also on TikTok on Off the Record podcast.
Yes, you're a podcaster.
Yes.
Off the Record podcast,
Yes.
which is on all platforms.
It's on TikTok and also on YouTube.
I love it.
Yes.
Pastor Gashanja, my pastor of the gram, where do we get you and how can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Gash Emmanuel. I think that's the best platform to find me. This Gen X is trying to figure out social media. But you can find me at Gash Emmanuel. And I'm here for you guys.
Yeah.
We do, at iVow, we do premarital, postmarital. We do counseling therapy. We do everything relating to relationships. So reach out and we'll be glad to walk this journey with you.
I love it. I love it. I love that you've also offered yourself today. And we've had an amazing conversation on what to do before we say, I do. And I believe lives have been changed. People have had something shifted. So from all of us here, oh my God, we have to say goodbye so that we can say good morning on another show or another episode of Heartfelt Conversations. It's been a wonderful season. I salute you. I want to say a big thank you and a big God bless you to the team that makes all this happen. Oh my God, I appreciate you every day, and you guys know that. I want to say thank you to the guests who have been here, all the 26 of you over the season. Thank you very much. God bless you. And today, thank you, Pastor Gashanja. Thank you, Lisa Marianne, for accepting the call and just changing lives. And I want to say thank you to God Almighty, the Father who allows us to be here and has been with us for the last 25 years, for the last 13 episodes. Thank you, God. We love you. So from all of us here at Heartfelt Conversations, it's cheerio and see you next